ourselves to believe. We need you more than we allow ourselves to believe sometimes. And so I call upon you, God, please move in our city. Be with our churches. Be with our pastors. Be with our representatives. Be with this body, this that has taken time to away from their families to be used to better our community. And I pray you give them wisdom and guidance. And even tonight, in the things that are discussed, would you please lead them in the ways that are good, not only just for the decisions of our city, but also that make heaven glad. I pray for our workers everywhere, our EMS, our police officers, our firemen, our public works people, and pray, God, for your sustaining of them. We thank you that our city is mostly safe, and even though little things happen once in a while, we got great people in the way of those tragedies to be ministering healing and security and help to our city. And God, I just pray for them and their sustaining. Pray that you'd anoint them and you would smile upon them and their families. Every time they leave the house, would you be with their families behind so that they are safe and secure. We pray, Father, for those that tonight are really struggling under this cold. Those who are without water, those that are without even a place to put their head tonight. That is, we just can't imagine what it's like to be so cold out in the woods tonight. And I pray, Father, that you would protect them and that you would help them. Give us wisdom into how we can help take care of them. I pray, Father, for this city to be able to grow, that we would grow economically, that we would grow in numbers of people, that we would grow in our kindness and goodness toward each other, that we would grow, oh God, in our knowledge of you, and may in all the things that are taking place tonight all across the city, but especially in this room, would be guided by your righteous right hand. We pray these things in the name of Jesus Christ our Lord. Amen.
Amen.
Thanks, David. Appreciate that. Would everyone please rise and join us in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. So we don't have any proclamations or recognitions tonight. We're going to move on to personal appearances. Personal appearances are opportunities for organizations or citizens to make special presentations before the City Commission. Such appearances are scheduled in advance of the meeting by calling Assistant City Manager Tabitha Sharp at 316-321-9100 by 5 o'clock p.m. the Tuesday preceding the meeting. Presentations are limited to 10 minutes and any presentations for information purposes only, and no action will be taken. It looks like we have 3 personal appearances tonight, so we're going to go down the list and start with El Dorado Inc.'s annual report.
Okay. Well, good evening. Thank you for taking the time to hear a little bit about El Dorado Inc. and what we had going on in 2023. So for those of you that don't know what El Dorado Inc. does for the business community, we have 5 kind of pillars of our initiatives that we work on every day on recruiting industrial development prospects that align with El Dorado's strengths and assets, such as large parcels of land and water. We also work on facilitating commercial development within the El Dorado Business Park and other commercially designated areas, such as along Central. We support the development of housing options within El Dorado and the diversity of those housing options, provide general support to the local business community by assisting with their development and expansion needs. And then we also are in charge of implementing a multi-platform marketing plan to recruit targeted industries to El Dorado. So basically, we work to provide the resources, knowledge about incentives, help with entrepreneurial problem solving, anything that a business could need. They can come to Inc. and we can work as the liaison between them and the city. So for 2023, when you boil down all the permits that were issued last year, the total commercial permits were around $4.5 million. The top taxable projects last year were the Wendy's and the new car wash. Also, the El Dorado Plaza did some remodeling last year and brought in Harbor Freight and did some renovation and expansion for Goodwill. And that was the project brought to you all last year for the CID. 2 of the 2022 carryover projects were the IRB project you guys approved for the senior apartments, Heritage House and Gordy Place. I think those should be done by this summer. And then 142 North Main continues to renovate and expand, and they added an elevator last year. On housing, it was another big year for housing. We had 30 new residential housing starts. 3 of those were duplexes, so technically 33 new front doors in El Dorado last year. At the bottom, I just kind of listed the top, if one of the developers had more than one home, and Dean Construction there with the 3 duplexes and 3 single family that they did. The median home cost was $206,000, which was up from last year. The median home cost was, I believe, $189,000, and the average home value was $229,000. So just to know, that's 62 new homes in the last 2 years. And before that, I think it was in the single digits. So we've seen great growth in housing. If you're curious about where these houses have been going up, it's kind of all over El Dorado. I put this map together to kind of show you where the clusters were. So Deer Run over at 3rd and Boyer had 6 housing starts, and then Finney Avenue is the Adelsberger addition, and then the Skyview Country Club Lawndale is over in the golf course area, and then the others are kind of sprinkled throughout the city. The multifamily homes, the 3 duplexes, were over on 10th Avenue, and they're marked in the orange little house. So as the director of Inc., I'm involved in a lot of organizations, as you can see here. Basically everything from local, regional, state, national to the International Economic Development Council. I serve on a couple of boards for these and keeps me pretty busy. So 2023 by the numbers, it's always kind of fun to look back at last year. You know, it was a busy week after a busy week after a busy week, but when you go to put everything together, my marketing team asked me to count how many meetings I had last year. So going through my calendar, it was 170 plus last year, on top of 8 conferences, helping with local projects, 30 plus projects, and there's 42 RFPs that are active, and I'll get into more detail on that here in a second. And then we did have 2 site visits from those RFPs as well. So highlights on the Candid marketing campaign, if you're not familiar with what that is, it started back in June of 2020, and it was an effort to target and attract businesses proactively, specifically businesses that use a lot of water, so that we could sell our industrial land and also sell water. So we have used some AI tools that are available to figure out when companies with the characteristics that we want here in El Dorado are ready to expand. They can quantify that now. So we have about 1,500 contacts in our database that our marketing team emails out to monthly, and our open rate is at 53% on average, which is kind of an unheard of open rate, and we have a very low unsubscribe rate as well. Going into 2024 with Candid, our goal is to, we have a new Gazelle list that we're going to be working through to update the companies that we are trying to attract. We do a targeted water bottle mailing. We have these custom Develop El Dorado water bottles to try and get in contact with certain businesses. But one of the key things that we're going to try is geofencing at some of the major conferences that I attend, which is basically putting a virtual ring around a conference center, and it will push out ads to people that attend those events, such as site selectors and businesses and things like that. And then also working with our team to get updated drone footage once we get our sites cleared through the base grant. So this is the kind of analysis of the request for proposals that we have that are currently active. So there's 42 active projects, 17 were initiated in 2023. A lot of these projects come to me through the Kansas Department of Commerce, but sometimes they come through the Greater Wichita Partnership or just other network contacts that I've made that reach out to me that know about El Dorado. So the pipeline is full of companies looking for water. As you can see here, gallons per day needed. There's 3 projects that are asking for more than 5 million gallons a day, but there's a lot even in that 1 to 2 million gallon range as well. One thing that we are seeing is that electricity is becoming a heavily demanded resource, and it's not unusual to see a project ask for 50, 75, 100 megawatts We've even had one that asked for 441, and I nearly fainted. But we try and figure out if we can get Evergy to serve those needs. But I tried to figure out kind of a description to tell you all just how much power that is. And I found that if you take 1 megawatt a day, I have to read what I wrote on this. 1 megawatt is 1 million watts, and that can instantaneously power 1,000 homes. 1 megawatt, if you're just thinking of an instant, not a kilowatt hour, it can power 1,000 homes. So you imagine how much 100 megawatts is. That's a lot. So we work through these projects all the time. I bother Scott all the time about these projects, and we respond to a lot of them. So 2024 is underway. These are just a couple of things that I'm focusing on for the first quarter. Obviously, the Develop El Dorado marketing campaign continues, and also increasing that direct contact with site selectors. I have a couple conferences lined up, and then we just had a meeting the other day with the Workforce Alliance. We're going to partner with them to try and create additional pathways for high schoolers to get job internships or job shadowing, things like that, to get them to enter the workforce here in Butler County. Finish our site certifications on our industrial sites and get trees cleared off. And then my number one priority is to increase communication with you all. So here I am. And I've worked with Emerald to set up dates throughout the year already. So I'll be here each quarter, just kind of giving you an update on what happened over the past 3 months. I think that's all I have. Any questions?
So where are we at in the site clearing kind of project right now? Are we getting close to taking down trees?
So we're kind of at a, Scott may be able to pitch in here, but we have some pricing of what it would take to clear the sites.
We've got a draft proposal put together, and really it's fun and time to get that kick started. Sarah's met with contractors, we've met with contractors, discussed different means and methods, from clearly dozing the site to shearing trees that are just, preferred methods, so.
Yeah. We're gonna get there this year, I promise.
Oh, but we know for sure that kind of the feeling you're getting from your site selectors is that it would be beneficial to have the sites cleared so that when they fly over them, it doesn't look like a bunch of trees.
Yes, we've had a couple site visits, especially during the COVID time, where they weren't actually even landing to check out sites. They were just flying over them. And the more ready you looked, if you had a road and it was kind of clear, the more likely they were to move forward with you. So whether that means clearing the pads that we know are the most flat that they could build on, and maybe leaving a perimeter or something like that, but it would be more attractive if the sites were cleared, yes.
Okay.
When you say 42 active projects, that's 42 people that are looking to potentially come. Is that
Yes.
awesome?
The RFPs are all of our proactive recruitment.
Okay.
Yeah. Local projects we keep separate than the industrial recruitment.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for all your efforts.
Yeah.
We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Appreciate the work you do, and we're looking forward to seeing you more often.
I will see you guys in April, if not before.
Next up for personal appearance is El Dorado Chamber of Commerce and the Kansas One-Shot Turkey Hunt update.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you all for having me tonight. My name is Becky Wolf, and I'm here representing the Kansas One-Shot Turkey Hunt. I'm a volunteer board member, and they just pushed this on me, so guess what? I get to do this. Last April, the Kansas One-Shot Turkey Hunt held their first event as a 501c3 public nonprofit organization. We had 48 hunters, of which 5 were Kansas youth and 1 youth from Nebraska. We also hosted CEOs from major corporations and the hunting industry. We had the opportunity to partner with the Kansas Department of Commerce and Kansas Tourism to bring prospective businesses to the community. We were able to have 2 people from 1 major corporation that was looking for Kansas to relocate, or to build, not relocate, build additional. I think that's still on the pike. I haven't heard one way or another, but our biggest goal as the hunt is to bring these businesses in here see what Kansas has to offer, and hopefully get them to bring their business here. So whether they bring their business here or do business here, whatever that may be, it's still boosting the economy of the state of Kansas and also Butler County and El Dorado as well. We did put together an economic impact information for everybody, but I put the wrong file on the folder. So I apologize for that. So I'll get that to you, get it through Phil, and he'll get that to you. But just to kind of give you an idea of what the economic impact is for this area, we basically I had to do an average because we do a 3-day event. So there's different price levels, different pricing for all that. So I basically based it on the 300 that we have at the banquet on Saturday evening, because most of those 300 attend the rest of the events. So from that 300, 70% of those are from out of town, whether it be out of state or out of the local area, El Dorado. So we're looking at about 210 attendees outside of the El Dorado community. The average spending for food and beverage, which we purchased that all locally, it came from local restaurants and local, we bought the water and all that kind of stuff locally. So about $80 per person is what that cost. So the food and beverage spending was around $72,000. Now we had some in-kind, people donated some stuff, but if you look at the economic impact, it's about $72,000. They stayed 3 nights at the hotel, and we had 66 rooms booked, I believe. 66 rooms booked. The turkey hunt paid for the majority of those, but some of the out-of-state people did pay for their own rooms. But that meant that $24,570 was spent on hotel rooms here in town for those 3 days. So when you're looking at the total direct impact, we're looking at approximately $788,000. And then when you're looking at the outside, those people coming from the outside in, around $559,000 direct economic impact to the community. So we feel that this is very important for the economy for El Dorado. It happens once a year. We'd love to do it more, right, guys? No, I'm kidding. But it really does bring a level of awareness about the El Dorado community, the people in El Dorado. I would like to see a lot more people attend events that are local community members, attend some of the events and meet some of these people, because they're very interesting. They have a lot to share, and I think you would enjoy it. As part of our mission, the Kansas One-Shot Turkey Hunt partnered with the Department of Wildlife and Parks. And one of the things that we were looking at was research on the habitat for the wild turkey population, as it's declined drastically in the last few years, which is going to impact our hunt, but it also impacts conservation and what we're doing in the area. So we wanted to check and see what we could do as a hunt to use some of those funds that we were able to gain to help our landowners create habitat, wildlife habitat on their land. So we talked to 2, and right now the Wildlife and Parks have done a study on the land that they have. One of them is rural Augusta area, and then another one is one of David Sundgren's pieces of land. So anyway, they did a study, what trees need to come in, what trees need to go out, what water needs to be there, so all of that. And we'll work with these landowners to try to make sure that they are able to, to get their land up to snuff for the wildlife. So that's part of our mission, and we'll be increasing that every year. As we go on, we'll bring in more people, more landowners. Let's see. We will be holding the hunt this year, April 18th and 20th. There are some new things happening. We're creating some new buzz for the turkey hunt. So Saturday night, you're going to see quite a bit of different changes going on there. We're gonna have some entertainment, some name brand entertainment, so be aware of that, and it will come, we'll be publicizing that shortly. But we're also faced with quite a few challenges. Because of the decline in the turkey population, the state has changed how non-residents get their turkey permits. So it's basically a lottery. So we've had to really work hard at getting in contact with hunters way earlier than we normally do. And let them know what units that their guide is going to, so we had to match them up early and get all the guides ready and let them know what units they're going to be in, and they have to apply in that for that unit. And there's no guarantee they're going to get it. So it's going to be a difficult year. Our hope is that they at least give out the same amount of permits that they sold last year. That is what we heard. So we hope that that's what is happening. So, but they only have a small window from January 9th to February 9th to get their applications in. So it's kind of nerve-wracking for us. We increased our board size up to 15, and many of those are local people here. We have a few, like Governor Mike Hayden is still on the board. We have the president of TriStar Arms is on the board, and we've got some of those long-standing turkey hunters that have been a part of the organization for many years, not this one, but the previous one. And so they lend a lot of knowledge and just give us a lot of information to come back to us. We also started an advisory group this year. So it's basically an advisory committee to kind of help the board see, what are some of the things happening across the nation with turkey hunting and how is that going to impact us and our hunt. And we're fortunate to have Sarah on that. And we've got, Katie, is that her name? Katie, with the CBB. And then the Department of Commerce is on there. Mike Hayden's on there. Just a small group of people to do that advisory group thing. We did hire a consultant this year to help us with 2 events. We're an all-volunteer board, and we all have other jobs, so it was a lot to handle. So we did hire a consultant to help us with those 2 events, the Thursday night event and the Saturday night event. We appreciate the commission's support in 2023, and we hope you look at it again for 2024, and I'd be glad to answer any questions that you might have at this point. I do want to recognize 2 board members in here, Phil and Dave Adams. Appreciate their support and in attending tonight, and then also on the board. Any questions?
I have a quick question.
Yeah.
And I know there's a lot of logistic things
Sure.
with getting your permits and all of that. But do you guys ever tag up with Inc. to approach specific people that are already looking at El Dorado to try to target? Is that?
Through the Department of Commerce and Inc. and we've been,
Yeah. So
kind
kind of
it's
give
all
a
been
little extra reason to.
it's all been hopefully trying. That's why we did the advisory committee
Okay.
too, and asked Sarah to be on that
Yeah.
because hopefully they'll be the ones to really hone in on who we're going to invite and how that's going to happen.
Yeah.
So we're hoping this was the first year, so it kind of got
Sure.
we've
Yeah.
already kind of had an idea of who we were going to invite, but it hopefully as the years go on that's going to be the place where the
Yeah.
invitations are going to come from.
That's obviously a lot to jiggle with
Yeah,
volunteers.
it is.
I totally
It is.
get that. So,
It is.
but no, sounds like you guys are bigger impact than I realized. Before I sat up here, so.
It's a lot of fun. It's like I said, these people are great, and if you have a chance to come to even the luncheons that we have down at the 4-H building, if you have a chance to come, that's just a way to, meet some of these people coming in, bringing their turkeys in and weighing them. That's kind of fun in of itself,
Sure.
is watching them weigh those. And also Department of Corrections, we couldn't do it without them too, because they help with the turkeys and they actually take care of dressing them and getting them ready for the hunters to take. So
Nice.
Pretty neat, Becky. Thank you.
You're
Yeah,
welcome.
It's a great I'm glad you guys kept it going. I'm glad that we
Oh,
formed
you
the
know,
Kansas One Shot Turkey.
it's been a fun thing to do, to keep going, and we had so many people just ask us to keep it going because but it's a challenge, it really is, now that the turkey numbers are low, but there seem to be seeing them, so we'll see.
I'm
Hopefully.
anxious to hear, moving forward, kind of how the conservation side goes, and I mean, that's a passion of mine as well, and we do have lower numbers now than we've had
We
in a
do.
long time, and I'm glad to hear that you guys are trying to partner up with some of the landowners to help them
Yeah,
out.
we thought, we thought we would do, more of the counting numbers kind of thing, but there's already so many people doing that already, or so many organizations doing that already. We wanted to do something that the organizations aren't doing, and that was what we felt that was where we could have the most bang for our buck.
I appreciate the work you guys are doing.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you guys very much.
Becky.
You know they're always gonna send you up here to talk, right?
What's that?
They're always gonna send you up here to talk.
Well, yeah, thanks.
Well, we'd much rather hear from you than Phil or Dave. So. Next on personal appearance is BHI, Butler Homeless Initiative.
Good evening. I'm Debbie Hill. I'm with Butler Homeless Initiative, and you all have a memorandum of understanding to look at between the city of El Dorado and Butler Homeless Initiative and the First Church of the Nazarene. What I want to share with you tonight are some examples of people that we have assisted, that BHI has assisted over, most of these are within the last year. So I just want to tell you some stories of some people. This first one is very recent. He had a roommate, but this man was evicted because he'd had a lot of health issues, so he was unable to pay his rent. So he was evicted, and he had double pneumonia, ended up in the hospital here. Hospital needed to release him. They contacted BHI, and BHI was able to provide him with some transportation to a Wichita shelter because we had no shelter where we could shelter him. So now this was just before this cold front came in, so this is a very recent occurrence. Another one that was only just a few weeks ago was a truck driver rolled his 18-wheeler just north of town. I know it woke me up on the Sunday morning. It was very early on that Sunday morning. And he was not seriously hurt, but he had his little dog with him. And in the accident, the little dog had fractured its foot. And the man was transported to SBA with his dog. SBA contacted BHI, and BHI called in a favor of a local veterinarian, and she examined the dog, gave the man some antibiotics and some pain meds for his puppy, and BHI helped, provided him with some dog food and a leash, and got him, made contacts for him for a bus ride. He was from New York. So him and his dog were put on the bus and sent back to New York. And since then, the local veterinarian here has heard from this man's veterinarian in his hometown and contacted her and let her know that the dog, we worried that the dog would survive. The dog not only survived, she was able to keep her little paw. And so all of that turned out very well for that man and his dog. Over the years, BHI has assisted many people with intellectual challenges who became homeless. These people relied on family members to care for them, and suddenly maybe their caregiver died, or their caregiver just abandoned them. For these people, BHI networks with Prairie View, with Meals on Wheels, RCIL, DCF, and CAPPERS. And these situations take months to resolve. There's testing and evaluations for these people in order to get them in the proper housing. So this takes many weeks, many times months for this situation to be resolved. In December of 2022, I a Vietnam veteran and his dog Larry were living in his pickup truck. And I don't know if you remember, but we had snow and cold that moved in on that Thursday night before Christmas. It's very similar to what we had this last week. I was called personally, I'll never forget this because had just started making my supper that evening. Call from DCF, Adult Protective Services. They had only just begun working with this veteran, but that Friday, government workers were not working that Friday or the following Monday. And this man did call this DCF worker, and in fact, she had been told to turn her phone off. And as soon as she got off the phone with me, she did turn her phone off. She had, this man suffered from, he was diabetic, and he suffered from both PTSD and bipolar. He was wearing what I call shower shoes and shorts, and he was out of gasoline. So we picked him up and put him in the motel room for that extended weekend. And he should have gone to the hospital, and I tried to get him to go to the hospital, but he would not go because what was he going to do with Larry? So we put him and Larry in the motel room for the extended weekend. The next week, we did make arrangements for Larry, and he did go to the hospital. He had suffered from a bad case of frostbite, could have lost his feet, but at least one foot. But the podiatrist here in town was able to save that for him, and he was in the hospital for about 7 days. So we made contact again with Adult Protective Services and with VA, who had been working with him. And Larry is now in a wonderful foster home, and this gentleman is in the Soldiers Home in Winfield and happy. And when I talk to him, all he brags about is the food, which he was just living on fast food. Then there was a blind man who was taken to SBA after falling outside of his estranged girlfriend's home. He was no longer welcome there, and he was blind and homeless. Envision was contacted by BHI for his eye care. His blindness was caused by cataracts, and this man was only about 50 years old. Before he could have surgery, he had to qualify and receive disability. In the meantime, vocational rehab through DCF worked him to give him skills in case his blindness was not correctable. Mid-Kansas CAP assisted him with applications to assist him with housing after his, or whether or not he was going to have surgery, but to assist him so he could get into housing. The BHI staff worked with all these agencies and helped him complete all these applications, and this took months. Took months to get this man on his own. But he does have full sight, and he's moved on with his life. And then there was the young blended family. They were getting by, one parent working full-time. They had small children. The other parent cared for the children and worked part-time. And they were getting by barely, financially. The breadwinner was involved in a serious automobile accident. Had to be in the hospital for quite some time. So the person who normally cared for the children, worked part-time, could not work. Of course, the breadwinner, no income coming in. They had no savings and no one to help them. And this was still during COVID. We still had COVID funding. So BHI put the family in a motel room for weeks while the uninjured spouse looked for and acquired full-time employment. They were employable. And Mid-Kansas CAP assisted them with housing. But first, they had to pay some delinquent rent payments because they were evicted. They were evicted from the house during the time or as soon as that person was released from the hospital from the injuries from the accident. But they had some delinquent rent payments from previous places that they had lived, and I believe they even had some utilities that they owed. So before MidCap can help them, these things have to be paid. You can't have past due bills, and they help you to go forward. So one of the children's grandparents was able to help the family with daycare because the person who was injured had a severe brain injury. And they lost a lot of memory with that injury, and they really could not focus enough to care for their own children all day, every day. So they were lucky enough to have a grandparent who was available to help them with childcare. Since then, they've adjusted to the injured parent's disability, because it is a disability, and they've moved on with their life, and they're in their own home. These are just a few stories of unhoused people in this community. All of these people were homeless and were provided refuge, as well as many other forms of assistance from BHI. BHI will continue to provide those other forms of assistance, but it's imperative that refuge, overnight refuge, also be a part of the recovery of homelessness, especially in these winter months. There are some organizations and agencies that BHI networks with who are here. RCIL, Macy is here to, I don't know if, yep. Chelsea with South Central Mental Health is here. These are people that we work with on a daily basis to help our homeless community. Because it's never just one thing that sends them into homelessness. It's that second shoe that drops that sends you into homelessness. It's been mentioned that BHI assists people from outside the city limits. Please keep in mind that El Dorado is the Butler County seat. Many BHI guests need replacement ID. You have to go to the courthouse for that, for a Kansas ID. Of course, that's after we've already applied for the birth certificate and for their Social Security cards. Some of BHI's networking partners office out of El Dorado. But churches, civic groups, and individuals from all over the county support BHI with in-kind donations, financial donations, and hot meals. Some examples of that: Generations from Andover provides a monthly meal and monthly donation. Every month they send us a check. Leon churches donate money and in-kind gifts. DeGraff Church supports BHI by collecting grocery and toiletry items and cash. Augusta has several churches that donate both food and money, and both Mid-Kansas CAP and the Department of Aging are located in Augusta and are partners of BHI. Right now, from what we see, the city of El Dorado does not have resources to care for its homeless citizens. BHI can continue to provide the assistance needed to help people out of their homeless situations and provide overnight refuge with this MOU. You have any questions?
Sounds like you got a full plate.
Yeah.
We got a full plate,
You guys do a lot. There's no doubt about that, so
Yeah.
we appreciate that,
and we just want to continue to do it
for sure.
correctly.
So, at the work session, the commission gave David the power to move forward with essentially not the official MOU, but the text in the MOU under the emergency operation plan that the city has. So I think it's this commission is fully supportive of David working with you guys to keep the overnight shelter open, certainly,
Okay.
when it's during the winter time, when it's cold out. That was the go-ahead from the city commission. We had a great conversation amongst the commission at the work session. And so, yeah, I think we're good to go.
Good, excellent, thank you.
And I'm not reading anything wrong there, right, David? That's the, okay, I just want to make sure
So, I mean,
that was our impression.
Just so we're
moving
clear,
forward.
Right,
there is no MOU on the agenda
okay,
tonight.
Because we just told him to go ahead and
okay,
go forward
Okay.
with it.
So that's where we're at. The
Okay.
email that I provided you the day after summarizes pretty much what was discussed, and so there will not be any formal action taken as a result of that.
I don't think I got that email.
No,
Okay,
well,
I may have missed it, okay. Okay, great, Thank you very
So-
much.
So you're good to go.
Okay, thank you.
We appreciate the work you guys
Thank you.
do very much. That is all that is on the agenda for personal appearances. We'll move to public comments. Persons who wish to address the city commission regarding items on the agenda and that are under the jurisdiction of the city commission may do so when called upon. Comments on personnel matters and matters pending in court are not permitted. Speakers are limited to 3 minutes, and any presentation is for information purposes only, and no action will be taken. Is there anyone who'd like to make public comment? Come on up, Phil.
Good evening, Phil Benedict with the El Dorado Chamber of Commerce. I just want to take a few minutes to represent some of our members, even non-members, in the downtown district along Main Street and up Central, to perhaps have a relook at some of our snow removal capabilities here in town. First of all, my members want to make sure you clearly understand they're so thankful with the sweeping of the sidewalks, keeps it clean, keeps it safe after each snow event, and they're thankful for that. But what tends to happen is that the sidewalks, snow gets pushed into the curb, and then the snow plows push the snow into the curb, and there ends up being a 2-foot wall. And it's not safe. People who are parallel parking along Main Street, up and down Central, risk being hurt, risk being falling as they're trying to climb that 2-foot hill to get to the business that they're trying to get to. Somebody my age just can't do it, and I fear that I'm going to fall all the time when that happens. We don't have a lot of snow events here in El Dorado, but when we do, there's a risk of people falling and risk of liability in so doing for it. Now, I saw an older gentleman plowing a cutout in that wall, or trying to when it was icy, because he had a wife who was trying to get to her appointment, and she was with a walker, and he just couldn't do it. And so even with a lot of cutouts, that's helpful, but we just ask that perhaps we take a look at the snow removal process, the snow removal policy, and say, can we get rid of that 2-foot wall? Or while we're there, perhaps create several cutouts so that people can access the businesses. We're trying to create a more friendly business district. That didn't help by having that 2-foot wall. So if we can create those cutouts at a minimum, I think that would be helpful. And I just don't want to say that it's bad, because they're very thankful for the snow coming off the sidewalk. We just have to make a safe way to get to the sidewalk and into the businesses. And that will help business then as well in those areas on Central and on the downtown district. Okay? Thank you.
Thanks, Phil.
Thanks.
Anyone else for public comment? All right, we'll move on to the consent agenda. On tonight's consent agenda, we're considering the approval of city commission meeting minutes from January 2nd, 2024, and considering the approval of advisory board appointments. Do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
What about that Wacasita Mexican food?
There wasn't one there. And approval of La Casita Mexican Food and Bakery, CMB at 212 East Central Avenue to expire December 31st, 2024. Do I have a motion to approve that consent agenda?
I move to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
Motion is second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. I just want to make sure the rest of it is right. We don't have anything on old business, so we'll move on to new business. Consideration of a request to rezone 1358 and 1360 Southwest Highway 77 from AR Agricultural Residential District to RS Residential Suburban District.
Yes, Mayor and Commissioners. This property located just south of town is in our extraterritorial jurisdiction, is located outside of the city limits. The property owner requested that we rezone the property from AR Agricultural, which has a minimum lot size of 40 acres, to residential suburban, which is our more residential type outside of city limits zoning jurisdiction, or zoning overlay. The property owner has a desire to potentially split some of his property and sell off a portion. So staff thinks it meets the requirements. The planning commission voted on this and held a public hearing November 28th and voted unanimously to support the rezoning. And if I have any questions, shoot them my way.
Do I have a motion?
I move to approve an ordinance for case number 23-06, REZ requesting a rezoning of 1358, 1360 Southwest Highway 77 to RS Residential Suburban District.
Second.
Motion is second. Is there any further discussion, or do you guys have any questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Next agenda item is consideration of a request to replat lots 12 and 13, Block 1, and lots 12 through 14 of Block 3 in the El Dorado Business Park.
Yes, this is a portion of the El Dorado Business Park, which is located just north of Towanda Avenue to the west of Sunset Cemetery. This plat creates 3 lots, what was previously 5 lots. Prior, this fall, there was a rezoning case before you to rezone that property from industrial to single-family residential. The owner has the intent to construct one dwelling at this time, potentially another in the future. It is platted for 3 lots. Staff worked with them to get easements that we'd require for future growth surrounding the area. The planning commission voted to determine if the zoning or the plat met our criteria, which they voted in favor of. And for your consideration tonight, you're formally accepting the replat, which functionally accepts the new easements and the vacation of the old right-of-ways and easements that were part of the El Dorado Business Park.
Okay, do I have a motion?
Well, I move to accept KB Farms replat of lots 12 and 13, Block 1 and lots 12 through 14, Block 3 of the El Dorado Business Park.
Second.
Motion is second. Do you have any questions or discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. That's all for new business. There's nothing on discussion items, so we'll move on to to report, City Commission Advisory Board updates. I'll start with Commissioner Wilkinson.
Not had any meetings.
Okay. Okay.
K-254 meets Friday, and I haven't heard anything from Reeves, so.
Perfect.
The library, it's not really the library board, but the library's having a energy bill assistance thing February 7th. It's from like 9 to noon. If you need help with your utility bills, there's gonna be several different companies that are gonna be there, so. It's like the abbreviations LIEAP, Low Income Energy Assistance Program, so it's on their website if you wanna check it out.
Perfect.
Sounds neat.
Did we get Scrib on the appropriate mailing list for REAP? Have you gotten any email from them at all?
I have not from REAP, but I did from K-254, and I think it's the same person, so I'm assuming that she'll
She's
will be.
been provided information. Reed hasn't sent anything out.
Okay, I just want to make sure that it's in there. Just checking. EFABC hasn't met since our last update, although we did, the college, the city, and the school district worked together to make sure that PG was as winterized as it could get for this cold snap coming through, so. Hopefully we don't have the challenges that we had a couple years ago. So, yeah, there's that. City managers report.
Our transportation master plan, we are moving to the public engagement portion of the plan. So we are having an open house on January 30th from 4 to 6:30 p.m. at the Civic Center. You all are invited to attend, and the public is invited to attend as well, so that we can get input from the public on our transportation system, areas where there is congestion or there needs to be some changes made potentially. So if you have ideas about our transportation network, feel free to come down, or if you just want to come down and kind of learn what we're talking about, come down to that as well. That's again January 30th from 4 to 6:30 at the Civic Center. The Excess Sales Tax Committee will begin meeting on January 24th at 5:30 PM. I believe that meeting will be here, so for those of you that are on that committee, we'll get you that information as well. The police department is hosting Coffee with a Cop on, it's tomorrow. I didn't write that down. January 17th at 9 AM, and they'll be at the American Legion. They've been doing this a couple different times, so you can come down and kind of learn about some new programs the police department has, and it's a great opportunity for you to ask questions of the department. So again, that's tomorrow morning at 9 AM at the American Legion Bingo Hall. And you may have noticed, the Public Utilities Department has been investigating a potential water leak at the intersection of Haverhill and Central.
What a mess.
This is something that kind of pops up every so often, about this time of year when it gets cold out. So they are trying to figure out, is it a water main leak? Is it a natural water occurrence? And once we kind of narrow that down, and hopefully narrow down kind of where it's located, we'll kind of have a better understanding of what we're going to be doing, and hopefully it's in an area that doesn't, we don't have to develop a huge plan for traffic. So they're kind of looking into that and developing a plan for what that might look like. In addition, something that happened today, the fire department, as well as the EMS and police department, sheriff's department, was working with the Gordy apartments. They had a carbon monoxide leak. I think it was their heating system had a malfunction or something. Anyway, they were able to move people to the senior center, got that diagnosed and got it fixed, and people are now moving back to the facility tonight. I'm told that the building has heat, but the hallways do not. The individual units or rooms are heated, so that shouldn't be a problem. And then they'll be working on the hallway or the overall unit over the next couple of days to get that repaired as well. So that's kind of it in a nutshell for the report.
Just a little comment on the Gordy Square. They've done a super job on those apartments. We have a lady at church that goes through there, and the residents are all extremely happy with the work that was done over there.
Is that all you got?
That's all I got.
Okay, I'd consider a motion to adjourn.
I move we adjourn.
Motion and a second. Scared me for a second. All those in favor say aye.